If you're lucky or smart, and one doesn't necessarily preclude the other, at some point in your life you'll have the opportunity to spend at least one night as a guest at the Inn at Bay Fortune. It's really worth the visit. Fireplaces in the rooms, a dining table right in the kitchen, and a suite at the top of a converted water tower, all wrapped up in a gardener's paradise. And if you're especially lucky, you'll meet David Wilmer, the owner of the hotel.
This is all the byproduct of sitting in a friend's kitchen on a Friday night, having a couple beer and telling stories. So when this property came up as the topic, went to take a look at it, and it was a natural as a country inn, is what I said. And unfortunately, I had 3 cheerleaders with me, encouraging me, egging me on. And then at the end of the holiday, I ended up owning a derelict property, and the rest, as they say, is history.
I suspect the rest is a whole lot of hard work.
There's a fair amount of hard work, yeah. Foundation had collapsed, and as the whole was falling in on itself, it was literally pulling the house off the stone column on which it sat. It was a total gut and rehab, jack it up 3 feet in the air, dig an 8-foot hole out from under it. We did renovations that had us open in 1989 with what would now be 11 rooms from the original structure. We expanded in 98, adding on a north tower and two smaller courtyards, which means at this point we have 17 guest rooms, 5 with balcony, a couple with private porch, 14 with fireplace sitting area. Each of the rooms has a different feel, one to the other. And we sit on about 46 acres. The dining room seats about 70, and it's a veranda that wraps around 2 sides of the house, looking out over Fortune Bay and the harbor down below us, Northumberland Strait beyond that. The Inn at Bay Fortune was built by a gentleman by the name of Elmer Harris, and Elmer Harris came here in 1908 on a fishing trip. He was a playwright, he was a screenwriter on Broadway, and eventually worked with MGM. He bought this property in 1908, tore the building that was here down, and built what is now the Inn at Bay Fortune. He would have been famous for a production which was the play that was based on a true story. It's called Johnny Belinda. And Johnny Belinda was the story of a deaf mute who was raped, had a bastard son. She was Belinda, his name was Johnny, so Johnny Belinda. There's a pond about 5 minutes away from here called Johnny Belinda Pond. Now, it would have been some artistic license on his part. It was a play that he wrote in '39, and in 1940 and '41 it ran on Broadway. In '48 it was turned into a movie starring Jane Wyman, and she won an Oscar for her role in the film. That would have taken place. They changed the setting from Prince Edward Island to Cape Breton Island when they did that, because it was easier to duplicate the rocky shores of Cape Breton in California than it would have been the red shores of PEI. And this property was extensively gardened by Mrs. Harris. I think our garden crew has tried to pick up the torch, so to speak, as far as that's concerned, because you can see that there are quite a lot in the way of ornamental beds here and there.
There's also a huge vegetable garden behind the inn, and that brought our conversation around to food. I mentioned to David how impressed we'd been with breakfast.
The potatoes, PEI is famous for potatoes. The shiitake mushrooms are from just up the street, PEI gourmet mushrooms. The pancetta is house cured. The bacon, we're bringing in whole pork, breaking it down, curing our own pork belly, lamb belly. We're smoking our own bacon. In terms of the flowers that were on there, that would have been from the gardens as well. Everything was edible. It was free-range eggs that are farmed about 10 minutes away from here. So it's a nice combination, that particular breakfast. I came in for it myself today.